up, y'all? Ramaswamy, Vivek is funny. Yesterday, Dr. Short and I were just talking about one of the last questions. If y'all saw yesterday's show, one of the last questions that I asked Dr. Randy Short was, how do you see this playing out? How long will Ramaswamy and Elon Musk last with Trump? Because, man, you just knew it. And no sooner than we get off of our live yesterday, Ramaswamy pissed white America off, boy. What we gonna do is today, I'm gonna dive into that today. I'm gonna dive into that. Sorry, turn the mic up. I'm gonna dive into that today. We're gonna talk about what Ramaswamy did to piss them off. We're gonna go through the tweet. Also, I'm gonna have Dr. Randy Short call in real fast. Dr. Short's gonna call in and he's gonna talk a little bit about this whole situation with Ramaswamy. And then we're going to do a Patreon. Because I just called Dr. Short back. We're going to go Patreon at 2 o'clock, 2 hours from now. Dr. Short is going to join me over on Patreon so we can really get into the nuances of Indian culture, South African culture like Elon Musk, and really go into and how that intersects with white supremacy. And we're going to say things that YouTube just might goddamn ban my goddamn channel for saying. So, but that's going to be after this. Today, right now, for the next hour and a half, we're going to go over the surface. We're going to go over what happened on the tweet. We're going to go over the tweet. We're going to go over what was said. And then over on Patreon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. East Coast Time, Dr. Short and I are going to go far more nuanced and far more detailed than YouTube allows us to go. All right? So with that being said, welcome everybody. Welcome. Thank y'all for joining. What's up, Brooke? What's up? Kendall, Bruce, by the time. Appreciate y'all for joining. But I want to first show the tweet that got everyone up in arms. I'm over here trying to tell y'all something. I'm not even prepared. So we're going to go into the tweet. Okay. Let's see here. And then we're going to, later on, after Dr. Short gets off the line, we're going to break this tweet down line by line. But off top, you're going to see here, this is a tweet. It's a very long tweet. And in this tweet, he talks about the American IQ. He talks about the how lazy Americans are. He goes into talking about the culture of America. He just shitted on America, boy. He shitted on America. First, I'm gonna before Dr. Short calls in, I'm gonna have you. We're gonna where's that? Let's go into this. Let me see here. Here we go. Let's go into this right here. Let's watch this breakdown on MSNBC, and then by then Dr. Short should be in, and we're gonna. This is what we're talking about here. Let me see. Let me see the audio's okay.
And former.
All right, cool. Audio's good. Let me turn that up. All right, go back. Watch this right here. Then we're gonna have Dr. Short call in real quick, and then we're gonna dive all the way into it. All right.
Former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, now part of the Doge effort with Elon Musk, he published a lengthy post in recent days about American workers. In this post, Ramaswamy explained why he feels tech companies choose to hire foreign workers over Americans. He boiled it all down to, quote, culture. He wrote in part this: "Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math or Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers." He continued, "Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America. but only if our culture fully wakes up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, and hard work over laziness. And Pablo, you went to college with Vivek Ramaswamy. You've spoken about that experience a couple of times. Give us your reaction to this, because I don't know, it could be sure interpreted as a swipe at a lot of the people who cast their ballots for Donald Trump.
It's a remarkable heat check from a guy who is not actually very good at speaking to, I believe, the reality of what's going on in America. And I say that, of course, as my own subjective opinion, but this read, at some point there's a line in this very long post, which you didn't quote, which I will. He says, we need more creating, less chillin'. And I say chillin' with the G missing, and it just feels like, a Breakfast Club speech written by a large language model. And it is politically, I think, a horrible decision insofar as the coalition that he joined was mostly interested in him because of how he enabled their own grievances. And when I say they, I mean the core of the MAGA base, which is America first in a way that means white America first. And so if he's going to talk to that base, a nativist base, the same way that white people have been talking to black people in America for a really long time, I don't think they're going to like it. And so what we're seeing now is this coalition that is fractured, that wasn't actually all that incentivized in the same direction when it came to what does Silicon Valley want and what does, quote unquote, the America First movement want. And you can recast America First, as Elon has done, his co-head of Doge, to say this is about America winning the game, as if they are a sports team, as if we are a sports team, as if we are a business, as opposed to a place that's supposed to prioritize, as the, again, base of America First would like it to be, white Americans first. But I believe that this is a remarkable fracturing ahead of Inauguration Day of a coalition that didn't make a lot of logical sense. And that's before, John, you get to the idea that this guy is talking about TV shows being the cause of this. He's saying that America isn't sufficiently Urkel enough. That's literally an argument he made, And I'm just like, why is this guy trying to articulate a vision for America for anyone? That's the part that I returned to and have for 20 years.
Yeah, no, reading the post here, he not only takes a shot at Friends, but he praises Screech and Saved by the Bell.
That's
and
right.
Indeed, the Steve Urkel character as well. Make America Urkel Again might as well have been the title of this post. We will see how that relationship develops in the months ahead. Host of Pablo Torre Finds Out on Meadowlark Media. Pablo Torre doing a lot of work for us this morning. Thank you, Pablo. And Sam Stein, thank you as well, buddy. We appreciate it.
So that right there, here's what they think about you. Here's what they think about you. I'm trying to wait for Dr. Schroeder to call in before I go all the way in on what I want to get on, because I want to hear his thoughts first before I really get into my thoughts. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Hey, can you dial in? All right, okay, Dr. Schroeder's about to come in. So that right there is what they're talking about. And I'm going to talk about this from a couple of different angles, okay? I'm going to talk about this from a couple of different angles. First off, we did a show last week on Steve Urkel. Remember when Jaleel White was trying to make it seem like it was a black thing that Urkel wasn't accepted? You see now, you coon ass nigga, that's an American thing. Why Urkel wasn't accepted. Second, I wanted to make it very clear. Vivek is talking about white America. Okay? America is always, whenever you hear America in anyone's eyes, the default is always white. This was the first time that an immigrant has gotten on white America like this. And I spent time in Twitter spaces last night listening to Nick Fuentes and a lot of these white supremacists. And boy, are they hot. They are mad. They are mad. They are angry. And then on top of this tweet, as I got Dr. Short coming in, you have, where's Elon? Here it is. Elon Musk doubling down. So that's what we're going into. But right now, we got Dr. Short here. What's up, Dr. Short? We have Dr. Short that's here. Dr. Short and I was just talking about Ramaswamy yesterday and how fast he's going to be out of this place. Dr. Short is here. We're going to go further in detail to what we're talking about now on Patreon in an hour and 45 minutes. I'm sorry, at 2:15 Western Standard Time, 5:15 Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Short and I are going to be on Patreon going all the way in. But right now, I want Dr. Short's opinion on it now. On what you from that. What are your opinions, Dr. Short, of that tweet and the fallout from that tweet?
Well, first and foremost, I have to say much love to you, brother. And I have to give honor to you, man. You're a super solid brother.
Appreciate that.
People have no idea how wonderful you are as a human being. And
appreciate that.
I want you to know, and like when you called earlier, when you call me, if I have something I can give to you, it's yours.
Yes.
Right? It didn't take you 10 minutes to get the number. And I was talking about you when you called. And if I don't have to have the big platform, if someone doing the right thing has a big platform, I'm satisfied. And I'm so proud of you and all the other people doing what you do. In fact, I was going to salute you. I left my cannabis upstairs. I said, you want me to do a toast to you? I'll do it later. I'll do it on Patreon.
Do it on Patreon.
Y'all have to pay to see me get high. I won't do it for free. Now, I told you yesterday, this Vivek Ramaswamy thing, these people imagine that they don't hate everybody. They hate everybody that ain't white. Everyone. Now, their main focus is in on us because they see us as the biggest threat. But what these guys are talking about doing with chain immigration and everything else, India has the world's largest population, and one day there may be 2 billion Indians. If they get a foothold up in here the way that they want, they're going to be the majority of the people in this country one day. That's what people fear. And so certain people are having second guesses because 101 years ago, people were concerned about this. They stripped Indian people of white status and made them black. And then they made them white again 60 years ago to counter us. So Indians for a long time have been used to punish black people globally in South Africa and Reunion and Mauritius and Mozambique and Kenya and Uganda and South Africa and Trinidad, Guyana, India, Canada, the UK, and now the United States. Now, when you tell people that these folks are basically honorary white people, and there's a relationship between the elite Indians who identify as white, right?
Yeah.
And you use them to attack black people, right?
Yeah.
You use them on us to attack us. That's what they've used them for everywhere. Then what happens one day, white folks recognize that these people have their own agenda. The Hindu religion, it ain't the Christian religion, it's not Islam, it's a whole different thing. Are you feeling me? And so certain people, in fact, this conversation that's going on right now, I had this conversation in July with Roger Stone and in August with Roger Stone. And I'm going to text you messages, Brother Dewan B, where I'm saying, you guys aren't taking this Indian thing seriously. this caste thing seriously because it doesn't screw white people. But it can, and it will. It's getting me now. So you tell me when I mentioned that it should be brought out that Kamala Harris is a Hindu and she's Indian, she's not black, and you think that's esoteric and nobody's going to be interested. For right now, since she's going to be used to screw black people, you guys don't see it as an existential problem. But one day you will. And once you see that how bad this thing is, you guys are going to snap because it ain't cool. It's not a tolerant religion. It's not a tolerant culture. It is a corrupt culture. It is a mean culture.
Very mean. Yeah.
It is a jealous ass culture. Now going back to Vivek Ramaswamy, if he's a Brahmin, the top caste within Hinduism, they see everybody else as trash. Everyone. Even white people are trash beneath their feet. And it is right to mistreat everyone because that's just the way it is. So Vivek wrote this text or tweeted, and he talked about lazy, no good American people that didn't deserve TVs. He was talking about them like the untouchables. And we're going to talk about that in Patreon.
Yes.
And I think the white folk were shocked. See, they like Vivek when he's attacking civil rights and attacking black people. They like Dinesh D'Souza. They like Bobby Jindal in Louisiana. They like these Indians who are lab technicians that frame up black men in Massachusetts and California and everywhere else that Indians get jobs to hurt black people. They like Indians keeping black people out of tech, but they never imagined Indians are going to come and take stuff from white people. Now, see, when it's just whites and Indians together, white folk and Indians don't get along. Nope. Indians are useful to them as middlemen people to attack other people because they know in particular, black Americans, particularly so, are dumb as shit. If you're not white, you're okay. That's how dumb we are. And if you're black, you're my brother, my sister, no matter how many knives you put in my back. That's why they've been brought here. But what Vivek did was said, you know what? I'm a twice born, and basically all the ordinary white people are dirt beneath my feet. And that set off MAGA, calling people lazy and saying all these jobs and so forth need to go to his people, not the people here. When we've got maybe 30,000 American doctors and who can't get jobs because all these Pakistanis and other people here who are not necessarily competent, the American healthcare keeps dropping with all these other people coming in here.
Yeah.
People didn't invent the technology. It's black and white people in America that made this technology. Now, of course, you copy it once somebody black made it. One day the Indians are going to say that they made hip hop, brother. I'm so glad you're out here to protect us from that.
Yes, sir.
So they put this thing out here, and MAGA, which is America First, these people really mean that shit.
They really do.
They really mean it. And this is what Trump has done with this dude that looks like the Joker with no makeup called Elon Musk is to let these people hand this country over to the Indians and the Chinese. And Trump is going to have to do something. And I'm going to tell you where the fallout, boy, this guy Vance and this Hindu bitch that he's hooked up with, a lot of people are going to start looking cross-eyed at Indians because, as I said, and I'm going to just touch on it, when white people were in India, the English, the British East India Company, they caused a minimum of 60 to 120 million Indians died at the hands of white people. I'll repeat the numbers, 60 to 120 million. Right? And yet Indians love white people the same way Japanese love white people. As I said to a Japanese reporter when I was at the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's assassination, or 40th, one or the other. Forgive me if I have the years off. I asked this Japanese dude who's hard on black people, do I need to drop 2 nuclear bombs on you for you to like me the way you like white people? And he got quiet. See, I would never do that to you. You hate me, and I respect you. I would never do what they've done to you, and you love them, and you hate us. I said, that's the problem we have. White folk killed tens, scores of millions of Indians, and they hate black people and love white people. But the top ones, the caste that Vivek comes from, even sees white people as inferior. And Laura Loomer and these other people know that in India, the people in Vivek's religion murder Christians, rape Christians. And I had told my dear friend, this woman I want you to meet, I'm going to send you her number because she's run for Congress out of Riverside, California 3 times. She's a very fine woman. This is, I don't know, she's one of my platonic loves of my life. And in fact, she can pass for white, so you know I like her. I mean, I can't wait to hang out and lie and say I got a Swedish girlfriend so I can get into fights and stuff with black feminists. Anyway, and she likes playing, so she can say, yes, I'm white. So people, Dr. Short's a traitor. I can't wait, Dewan. You know I like to have fun. But look, so are you understanding me?
Yeah.
Vivek hates our guts. Vivek and these other people study American racism and they understand the situation. And they know that they can play on white hatred of black people. And they play this. Latinos do it too. But now certain white folks are beginning to see the game. That they can get played. They can get played.
Yeah, and it look like
And
they
so,
trying to.
and now they're talking about the caste system. They're talking about all kinds of stuff because they recognize if you mess around, it's the same way Kamala Harris's father, so like got tenure and all of that, but he wasn't the right caste. That's why her mother and father broke up. And if you know anything about Indian families, if they're Brahmin, they will kill you if you marry into their family. They don't want, no matter what. They're black folk who marry Indians, they're making money, and they'd rather than be with a white person, be with you, no matter how good, no matter how happy. And the words of a Pakistani mother-in-law to her Pakistani daughter who's screwing a guy new in Baltimore, her comment was, black sex doesn't last forever. And you're gonna have to choose between our money and his black sex. I know how happy he's making you.
And that right there is the cultural nuance differences that goes on. And the rest of it I want to save for Patreon because we're gonna go. Any more teasers you want to give before we go all the way there?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas,
I want to say this. The Indians have a special, the Brahmin, the top elite Indians have a special hatred for black Americans more than any other group of black people in the world. They especially don't like us. Because the movement to uplift the untouchables, the equivalent of the niggers of India, their movement comes from the black American community. Most people don't know that. The Indian government, the same way that little Jewish diplomat said the enemy of Israel were young black people, the enemies of the Brahmins are black Americans. They hate us more than anybody. And okay, people need to understand there is a relationship that's over 120 years old, more like 140 years old, between blacks and Indians fighting against racism and caste. And we're a problem. And so they have a special thing to take us down and out. Yeah. And that's not just here, that's South Africa, that's Mauritius, that's wherever, that's Fiji. Wherever you put blacks and Indians together, they subordinate black people for white people.
And that's where and right there is where we're gonna leave it off. If y'all want any more, you're gonna have to subscribe to the Patreon. If you are subscribed, you're gonna be part of the game. We are starting at 15 minutes past the hour, 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. 15 minutes past the hour.
And let me say one more thing, Brother Dewan B. For all the people who think I'm just talking, I'm not boasting on myself. I'm not. But I was involved in the anti-caste movement for Black Indians, okay, for about 10 years. So this isn't new for me. I was involved. I'm in trouble with the Indian government for embarrassing them back in 1999, because I'm the first person to sponsor a memorial for the leader of the untouchable Black Indian movement. In fact, so, I got me and the vice president the president of India, we're in communication. over how people are treated there. You follow? So when you have all these problems with me in social media, I'm in trouble with people, little broke ass me living in my mother's basement, who's just discovered the wonders of cannabis at the age of 59 and a half.
And that's why we guys, and that's why I don't have Dr. Short's name in the title. That's why you saw the other stuff with Dr. Short, because when Dr. Short's name is in the title, whenever we get together, they find ways to sabotage my channel. Those of you, Quan S, my mods, you guys have been on the whole ride since 2020. You see the numbers go up, Dr. Short come on, the numbers go right back down. They target this man. That's why I don't. That's why I don't want to give it the algorithm. I want to let you go right now, and give everybody the rest on Patreon. All right, because I don't want my algorithm getting disturbed.
Don't lose your channel for me. You know that I sent you the FBI thing.
Cool. No. Yeah, that's no. You look. You already just saying words I don't want to say it on here. Let's talk later. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Damn. Dr. Short will go there and just loosely just go there, and they'll be like, "Fuck," that'll be fucking my algorithm up. But I had to still have him on here because this is what we're dealing with. And so if you're on Patreon, we're going to go further into it on Patreon in about an hour and a half, all right? Right now, I want to go back into the tweet. And let's break these tweets down line by line, all right? Let's break this shit down, what he said. Because I want to talk I saw some people in the chat room earlier saying that I told you something about what they're saying. I saw somebody in the chat room earlier say some dumb shit like, "Well, that's because black folks keep fighting each other." Nigga, do you know Indians got the highest fucking domestic violence rate on the goddamn planet? Have you seen the conditions of India? There's nothing moral about India that gives them the moral authority to get these jobs. It ain't about us fighting each other. It's about a system of education that miseducates our youth. So by the time our youth is in the second grade, they're forever disenchanted and done with education. That's the issue. An education system that doesn't educate, an indoctrination system. But I want to break that down as we go through his tweets and just really break down what he's saying. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans, and put that in quote, he's talking about white people. He didn't want to say white because he knows at least not to say white. But he knows because at the end of the day, the reason why he knows white. First off, black people aren't even in the runnings for these jobs because they don't give us the proper education to get there. We're in the runnings for those jobs on a lower level, but not on a bigger level. On a bigger level, it's a lot of white people that are in line for these jobs that are not getting it. So he says, isn't because of innate American IQ deficit a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers. And if you're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Right there is where he's ought to be. On one hand, he's right and he's wrong. American culture does not value high-level education. We do value athletes and entertainment more than we value education. But let me tell you something else. That was true, too, when America owned the space program. The world went from never touching space to touching the moon within a handful of years. Partially because of Operation Paperclip Nazi scientists coming over here, and the other part because America had the #1 education system in the world while still kicking everybody's asses in the Olympics. We was whooping ass in the Olympics and had the #1 education system in the world. So the culture is somewhat true, but it really comes down to how we're educated, not culture. But this is fine. I'm not gonna fight him because again, he's going at white society. Everything because I'm sure I haven't been paying too much attention to the chat room, but I'm 99% sure it was a handful of dumb niggas in the chat room saying, "We ain't doing it because we this and we that." This Indian motherfucker's telling you, it ain't just your black ass. This is American culture. He's talking about white folks. He's talking about Latinos. He's talking about Asians who've been here multi-generationally. He's talking about Africans who've been here multi-generationally. He's talking about everybody. But we'll get a lot of dumb niggas that come and check. We're the only ones. This is for you. We the only one, dumb niggas. Pay attention. He says, our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long. Partially true also. At least since the 90s, likely longer. It doesn't start in college. It starts young. A culture that celebrates prom queen over the math Olympiad champ, over the jock, over the valedictorian will not produce best engineers. Don't know about that either. America was producing the world's best engineers when Muhammad Ali was on top. America was producing the best engineers when Broadway Joe guaranteed a Super Bowl victory in Super Bowl number 2 with the New York Jets. America was producing the best engineers when Paul Robeson was one of the biggest names in entertainment. Okay? So, the Bachelor Party says our American culture. Now, on the other hand, it does venerate mediocrity. This is where the truth comes in. You hear it in our music. American music pumps mediocrity. Since the 90s, we've been getting nothing but mediocre in our music, in our entertainment. America does. He's partially right. America does push mediocrity. You see it right now in sports. You know what I mean? Just look at the stat line. Like, they elevate LeBron James over the people who actually won more championships. Like, hold on. How did y'all lower the bar? If somebody's going to be the greatest, shouldn't he at least match the bar to people you call the greatest? But that's another story. So in some ways, he's right. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World over Zach and over Zach or Zach and Sater over Screech, and Stefan over Stefan Urkel. Okay, there are certain things that he has somewhat of a point on. Let's go further than what he's saying. He says, fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch these TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity, and their kids went on to become STEM graduates. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends. He really got that white folks on Friends. Woo! Niggas, that's how you know he ain't talking to us directly. Niggas don't watch Friends like that. We watch Living Single. If he said Martin, we might have had a problem. But he said Friends. That's all white. More math tutoring, fewer sleepovers. More weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons. More books, less TV. More creating, less chilling. More extracurricular, less hanging out at the mall. Ooh, he is going in, pissing them white folks off. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kind of parents. More normal American kids view those kind of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring to normalcy is that what you will achieve. He is reading white society for filth right now. Now close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s, even though now, who raised their kid to be according to the model versus the other. My parents limited my TV. Matter of fact, Vivek, I know me personally, I used to go to tutoring 3 days a week. And I had Saturday supplemental tutoring down at King Drew Medical Center in Watts. So I was personally in school 4 days a week outside of school. And that didn't help too much because American school systems suck. And now let's go into the last part right here. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. That's true. And if we pretend like it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. That's true. We live in an American culture that's been pushing this to a lot of the people that's been pushing, we got to learn about, we have to teach our kids that there are 2,000 different genders. And this is pushing gender studies. This is pushing all that bullshit that people are saying it's okay, teaching boys how to be girls and girls to box. They got a movie that just came out on Christmas about a girl boxer. Why the fuck are we socially engineering our girls into fighting when at the same time they're allowing white men to say that they're women and join women's sports? So you lining your daughter up to fight a white man that decided one day that he's a girl? This can be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from the slumber before. He keeps saying we like he's one of us. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully awakens up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, and nerdiness over conformity. Hard work over laziness. That right there, the laziness part got them. We're going to break all this back down. So basically, that work we have cut out for us, rather than wallowing in victimhood. He just called white folks victims. Just wishing or legislating alternative higher practice into existence. I'm confident we can do it. So he's basically talking about, Vivek is basically saying American culture is the reason why it is what it is, not the education system. And then you got this tweet right here from Elon Musk. See, he just went in. But then you got, where's the Elon Musk tweet? Where'd it go? Here it is. So he's going in on American culture. Now look at this tweet from Elon Musk. Elon says, maybe this is helpful. Maybe this is a helpful clarification. I'm referring to the bright in bringing in via legal immigration the top 1% of engineering talent as being essential for America to keep winning. This is like bringing in Jokic or Wemby of the world to help your team, which is mostly Americans win in the NBA. Thinking of America as a pro sports team that has been winning for a long time and wants to keep winning is just right. It's just the right mental construct. Okay, now I'm going to get into my words. I've read with you what they said now about what I'm saying. And I'm going to start with this tweet, then we're going to go backwards. First off, when it comes to this whole thing, Elon Musk, Wemby and Jokic in the NBA were brought in because the NBA is doing its best to suppress black talent. The same way America has done everything it can do over the last 60 years, since its inception, but really post-civil rights movement to suppress black talent. Truth of the matter is, if you watch basketball, neither Wemby nor Jokic are going to win you anything. They can put up numbers, but Jokic gets MVPs but don't play defense. It's when they've been brought in, and players like that, what they do, it gets highlighted over the level of the American-born players who are always, always better. Always. Anthony Edwards is better than Wemby and Jokic. But the marketing has you thinking Jokic and Wemby are at the top, when really it's Anthony Edwards. When really it's Trae Young. When really it's these black athletes that are really pushing the NBA. But look at the end result. Let's just use the NBA as an analogy. The NBA has been pushing foreign-born players real heavy the last decade. And what happened? We talked about it on this show. The last decade, NBA numbers, viewership has gone down 50% in 10 years. People are saying because the NBA is unwatchable. Why is the NBA unwatchable? Partially, the NBA is unwatchable because you're pushing these mediocre Europeans ahead of the natural born black athletes. That's why the NBA is suffering. And if you push this into America, bringing in a whole bunch of people from failing countries, you're going to bring that same failure here. Let's take it back one more step. He talked about the culture. And this goes out to all my education cultures. And I agree, American education sucks. But if it's just about education, why isn't India winning? Why aren't they on top? If it's just about education, where's Nigeria in the global scale of things? Where is India? If it's just about education. See, the thing is, yes, these places bring in geniuses. Yes, they do. But it's not just education. It's a combination of innovation and education. And in America, what made America a super economy is the innovation of the Black American. Well, we innovate. We innovate the chips that create a way for a cell phone to be made. Yes, we have. We innovate bioengineering and biofuel. So bioengineering is now a whole industry because George Washington Carver innovated that. The innovation plus the education is where it comes from. And America has been targeting black education real heavy, real hard. And what they did was they started it by targeting black schools in the 70s. Kissinger, Nixon. They started it by targeting us. Pushing us all into these other things, and saying, okay, we're only going to leave the good education for the white people, for the non-blacks. They get the education. Even now, when you come into a high school in LA, the STEM programs are in the Latino high schools, not the black ones. And it's been going like that in LA for about 15 years now. All of the STEM, all of the advanced stuff that's going to really angle you, they're in the white schools, they're in the Asian schools, they're in the Latino schools. In the black schools, sports and music is what they're talking about. And they don't even teach music right. So you've socially engineered black people away from these fields. And then slowly but surely, that cancer you put in our education spread to the rest of the country. Now you got these white folks that have been getting the proper education. These other Americans, second and third generation Asians, second and third generation people from other parts of the country, they got indoctrinated into this American education system. Now there's a brain drain. It's not enough brains to provide these jobs. Vivek is right. My homeboy is a tech recruiter. He's been a recruiter for Meta now, for Facebook for 15 years now. He talks to me all the time about how a lot of your best talent does come internationally. That's because America is too busy. It's not a culture thing. Well, I can't say it's not. It's partially a culture thing, but it's bigger than a culture. It's a targeting thing. You got these super innovative youth that you put in these schools. Think about this. Kindergarten, colors everywhere, interactive, engaging. By the time a child gets to the first grade, bland walls, no interaction, you ain't teaching them shit. Schools have become a babysitting place. And by the second grade, children no longer give a fuck about being educated. So it's not about being lazy. It's not about TV. It's about that when these kids are in school 6 hours a day from the age of 5 to 18. During that 6 hours, you're teaching them about gender studies. You're teaching them about anti-bullying. Why is anti-bullying the number one thing talked about in school? You're going to deal with bullies, beat their ass and move on. But schools are focusing on genders, bullying. They're focused on everything except for engagement. The American youth, the American education system is a failed thing. And it's been And it's purposely been screwed off, going back to Kissinger and Nixon. I've talked about this in the past. The education system is fucked up. And this is how you know. Here's a control test. Get a second generation Nigerian. It ain't too many second, it's some. Get a third generation Asian kid. Second, third generation Asian. Second, third generation Nigerian. Second, third generation Indian. You know what they want to be? They want to be an athlete. They want to be an actor. They want to be an entertainer. They want to be everything except for a professional. Because American propaganda ushers that in. Here's the second point I want to make about that. Somebody made this point earlier in the chat. This isn't all about education. It's not. Because America's already imported in enough brains to be fine. Now, with them opening things up, this is about slave labor. Let me break it down to you. America brought in when Mexicans and Latinos to take over the slave jobs, picking the cherries and all that shit, the service industry jobs. Because the people that control, the oligarchs, want to make as much money as possible. It's not that black people were done picking cherries. It's just that black people were done picking cherries at that rate. I know, because my dad used to go up to Stockton, California in the early 60s and pick cherries with my cousins up there. And my dad remembers in 66, 67, they used to go as kids and do it in the summertime. And he was like, man, that shit stopped by the time we got to middle school, because all of a sudden, the stuff that they would have the kids do out there, they started bringing the Mexicans in. And partially because a lot of the black people were like, we don't mind picking these cherries, but you're going to have to pay us. America didn't want to pay. It's not that they didn't have the labor. They didn't want to pay for it. So white folks, being these service industry jobs don't affect them, they said, shit, cool, bring them in. It don't affect me. It just affects the niggas. All right, fine. Then it went up to your city jobs, city entry-level jobs, your McDonald's, your fast food restaurants, your service stuff within the city. Black folks did that. And then the next generation of Latinos that came up, now you start bringing them Asians in. They got the massage parlors on deck, the nail salons, the Asians come and do hair. You bring them in because now you can basically bring some people in from China, make them slave and clip nails all goddamn day to pay back off their citizenship, and the labor's cheap. Again, these jobs don't affect white people. They displace the black nail techs. They displace the black hair care facilities. Black people owned our hair care industry in the 1970s. You bring the Asians in to undercut the price. Bring the cost of labor down. Again, did not affect white people, so no one cared. Then you get into the city jobs. And if you live on the South where y'all just now getting these people, trust me, it's coming. I'm in LA. I've been seeing this shit progress my whole life. Now, back in the 90s, LA, the city, the county jobs, the Department of Motor Vehicle jobs, all that stuff went to black people. The city jobs, all the construction, but they brought in the Mexicans and the Asians to take the city jobs, to take the construction jobs. So now it's not picking cherries. Now we're into jobs that can pay you enough to afford a home in the city that you live in and go on vacation twice a year. But again, those city jobs, those electrician jobs for the city, those construction jobs, only affected black people. So white people didn't give a fuck. And it's all over the same thing, lowering the cost of labor. If you black and you in the union, you're getting $50 an hour. I get these non-union Mexicans and pay them $5 an hour plus a pack of beer. That's what they did. Now, the economy is shifting. We're in a different economy now. Now the labor jobs are the tech jobs. But those pay really good money because robots, America has a plan on having robots take over all your plumbing, electrician, all that stuff. America, and Elon Musk, even Mark Cuban even talked about it. In 25 years, all that stuff is going to be on robots. So now the labor is tech. But tech pays a lot of money, especially if you went to school and educated yourself. Now you're demanding $500,000 a year, 1.2. You're getting these $7 million contracts to build out a project. I don't want to pay that. So what do? The first thing you do, first thing you do is you go to intellectualpower.net and get some of this brain food. Go to intellectualpower.net to get your mind sharp. I can't tell you how it's going to work for you, but I can tell you for me, this shit got my mind working. Intellectualpower.net. It's in the description. It's also in the chat. But back to what I was saying. So what do? You bring in these people. I don't want to pay you that money. I can get this Indian guy and I can pay this slumdog where your American ass is charging me $500,000. I could pay some slumdog Vivek $50,000 or $100,000 and get the same quality of work, maybe even a better quality of work. But I ain't got to pay him. And this Indian is willing to work 80 hours a week and not take vacation. He don't give a fuck about Christmas. He don't give a fuck about none of that shit. He just comes here to work. So what's basically essentially happened is what they're doing is they're now importing a new slave class. But it's a slave class that's into tech and into high things that require really strong minds. And let me show you something. America knows how to do this because one thing that they don't talk to you about during slavery, there were a lot of slave engineers during slavery here in America. We weren't all just picking cotton. We were not all just picking cotton. There were slaves that designed the Alabama State House, the longest standing bridges all throughout Mississippi were all engineered through quote unquote slaves. America's always had a slave class that's educated. During slavery, we were it. But one thing about America is Americans, when Vivek talks about being lazy and working hard, that's Vivek's way of saying, basically, we'll be your new slaves, America. Because Americans work hard. America is the highest producing nation on the planet as far as productivity. We work hard. Only difference is when you Black American and when you're not just Black American, when you're American, United States of America, you ain't gonna work like a fucking slave. You're gonna say, I want my rights. I want my lunch break. I'm only working 40 hours a week. You better give me 6 weeks a year of vacation. That's what Americans are gonna do. And that's not what the oligarchs want. Make no mistake about it. Elon Musk is an oligarch. When they say billionaires, these are oligarchs. Oligarchs do not want independent thinking people who are going to demand their rights. So the way to get around that is to bring in people who don't give a fuck about rights. You see how that works? You see how that works? And for black people, all I gotta say, like I said before when we talked about this subject, all we gotta do is sit back and grab our popcorn. We weren't educated in these fields. This is Vivek, and I think that Vivek and Musk could have been successful at what they plan on doing had they just shut the fuck up and did it. Vivek coming out of the bag like this on Twitter. But white people, white America, non-black America, you did it to yourselves. If white America had fixed this community and focused the attention of the masses on education and not indoctrination, we wouldn't be having this problem. If white America wasn't so focused on disenfranchising black America, you wouldn't have this problem. If white America wasn't so focused on allowing the crack cocaine to come into the neighborhood and blacks, while white America sat idly by when black American education was getting thwarted and rooted out, this wouldn't be happening. Remember back in 2012 when President Obama closed over 200 schools in Chicago? And why do I blame President Obama? I blame President Obama because federal funds could have been sent to Chicago to keep the education system going. But he ignored inner city Chicago and allowed them schools to go ahead and close, which increased the violence within the community. We got over 1,500 people in here and only 500 likes. I need some more likes. I need some more of that. 300 on Twitter. I need y'all retweet. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. All right? Hit the like button. It helps with engagement. And make sure you leave a comment after the video. So what Vivek did was he just put a mirror to America's face. But this mirror came because America thought it was just going to be black people. See, let me tell you something. Black America, we're always just the beta test. America don't give a fuck about white Americans, quote unquote. They don't give a fuck about Latino Americans. They don't give a fuck about you Asians and Indians either. America don't give a fuck about none of y'all. America wants maximum production from you. America don't give a fuck about you. And we as black people, we understand that. And we're sitting here crying, ringing the alarm bell. Hey, is something fucked up in the water over here? And what did y'all say? Oh, black people are just complaining. If they just stop shooting each other, it's the rap music. Blame it on everything except for the systemic issues. And you, America, white America, and all of non-black America sat in and grabbed their popcorn and watched us suffer. Oh, look at those Negroes. They're uneducated. Ha, look at the Negroes. Now, you vote in white supremacist Donald Trump talking about make America great again and America for Americans. And who were the first two people Donald Trump hired? A fucking Indian and a South American telling white America, you niggas is dumb. White America voted Republican all them years, saying so they can point fingers at the Negroes. That's what's wrong. Democrats voted for liberal white supremacy. Let's bring the Negroes in and let's elevate LeBron James and Jay-Z. And we're not going to ignore the Negroes at those Republicans. We're going to embrace the Negroes. But we're going to tell you a good Negro is going to play basketball, throw a football, or sing or rap. That's what a good Negro is. You get to educate yourself. Liberals don't give a fuck about education when it comes to us. Hell, Bill Clinton is the one they knew back then when I remember when I was in college. They know how we used to do studies showing the studies show that they knew how many prisons to build in any given city based on the test results of second graders. America has been knowing since the 80s, at least probably longer than that. But America has been knowing since the 80s on record that the correlation between early education and prison. But when it was happening to us, everybody else was like, look at the Negroes. Even though the study was saying you fix primary education, you fix crime, and y'all allowed it to happen. Now you looked up Ramaswamy's in office. And Trump just said the other day that he's going to he wants to give a green card to anybody that comes to America and graduates from a 2-year or 4-year or PhD university. If you graduate from a university, Trump said that he wants to give you a green card. And all them ignorant ass white folks that voted based on race are going to be the main ones that suffer from it. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha! If you allow cancer to exist, you can't control cancer. The minute people saw black people getting fucked up over this, it should have been all hands on deck. Hey, what happens to the black people in the hood is going to come to us one day. That's what your white parents and your non-black parents should have been saying. And this is also a warning to you immigrants that think you all hot shit because you have an education. First off, if your education was that good, your homelands wouldn't be so fucking shitty. All right? Let's just start off with that. Second, your children, and if not your children, for damn sure your grandchildren, if they're born in the United States, ain't gonna give a fuck about all that education. Vivek is right about America breeding mediocrity. America definitely breeds mediocrity. And your grandchildren are gonna fall for it. Think I'm lying? Okay. Stay around here in America long enough and find out. It starts with us. It ends on your white ass. So the next question is, where do we go from here as black people? How does this work out for us? I'm going to start off by saying I was in a Twitter space last night. I was in there with a Twitter space like with Nick Fuentes and a whole bunch of them white supremacists. And they are on alert. You know when white people feel backed into a corner, what they do. So for black people, your job is to sit your monkey ass down. Niggas always want to jump in a white fight. Let these motherfuckers fight it out. They socially engineered your black ass out of these jobs 30 years ago, homie. So these are now white people's jobs that are being taken. For us, first off, we need to go back to educating our own. All this sending your kids to the school system. Like, if I see another black parent brag about, oh, my kid got this GPA, but you're not giving them any supplemental education outside of what they're getting in the school system, you're raising a fucking dummy. I don't care if they have a 4.0. If the only education they getting is happening in that school, you're raising a fucking idiot. I said it. We need to focus back in on supplemental education, teaching the children knowledge of self, getting them involved in STEM early, outside of school. You cannot depend on the American education system to do it. Parents got to take the time to do it themselves and introduce this stuff to the children themselves. You're never going to get it by just sending your kids off to school and saying, hey, my kid got a 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 points of bullshit is what they got. Learn how to use the technology, the AI, to enhance your business. Become masters at these tools. Put your kids in front of these tools. Teach them how to build their own programs. And War Wins, appreciate the super chat. Said, yeah, we need to continue our delineation movement and make FBA great again. Right. We got to continue to delineate. Because like Dr. Short said, we don't accept any group of people that come over here and shit on us. Oh, they black like us. All right, nigga. All right. Okay. Because these other groups ain't playing with us. Vivek is right. This is a very ultra competitive world. American engineering is everybody gets a trophy. We live in this everybody get a trophy generation. No. You got to teach your children the value of winning and going off. I had a math teacher, my algebra 2 teacher at Westchester High. His name was Mr. Kataoka, an Asian guy, Brian Kataoka. And Mr. Kataoka didn't give us half points. You know, sometimes they'll give you a partial credit. Mr. Kataoka did not give us partial credits. We had to get all the answers right and show the steps. And one day in class, they asked Mr. Kataoka, why can't, well, Miss Madden, Mr. Soleil, they give us partial credit. And you know what Mr. Kataoka said? He said, well, would they give the manufacturer of your car partial credit if the brakes only work a partial amount of the times? He said no. When you push that brake, it better work 100% of the time. And mathematics, when you do it correctly, works 100% of the time. So there is no partial credit. The same way your mechanic won't get a partial credit if he barely fixes your brakes. That was a life lesson Mr. Kataoka gave me. Brian Kataoka. My wife was in his class too. My wife was in the AP class. I was in the regular class. My wife was in advanced placement. The bar has gotten low. That's why it's on us in the house to have the bar. Set a bar. Stop engaging children in these fucking conversations about sex. They're 8 years old. 12. And if you're gonna talk about it responsibly. I was with my wife's family this past for Christmas Eve. And one of her cousin's children started to engage in a debate with us about something about somebody's gender. And the kid is like 14. And I told that boy, I said, stop talking. He was like, what? No, I'm just saying. I said, stop talking. You don't talk to me about that kind of stuff. I said, if you want to impress me, talk about something that's going to go on that's going to be constructive. I'm not going to engage with a 14-year-old over fucking gender. And this kid is smart. Have y'all seen this with a lot of these younger kids? These kids will have in-depth, and fucking 14-year-old, speak to some of these college kids, 22, 21 years old. These motherfuckers is literally having intellectual debates over nothing. Just philosophical bullshit. This education system, and it really goes back again to 1971. For those of you who haven't seen my previous broadcast on this subject, America had the number one education system through the 60s. From beginning of the century through the 60s, America number one education system. And this is why we celebrated Jack Johnson, Joe Louis. America's always had an affinity for sports. This is why Babe Ruth was on top. This is when Babe Ruth was everything. This is when baseball's running shit. Orson Welles was putting in movies in Hollywood. All of this stuff existed then. But the children were engaged in education. When Kissinger and Nixon got together, there was a critical question asked because the Vietnam War was going on. They were asking, and this is history right here. Take notes. I can't think of the book right now because I've read so many books over my lifetime. Sometimes I can't think of which book that I got to some. But this here is actually a discussion that I had in college. This was actually a discussion that I had in political science going back to like my sophomore years in college. This is when I learned this information. They were asking, why is America protesting the Vietnam War? Why is America so up in arms? And Kissinger and Nixon basically concluded that Americans are too smart. We're educating the people too much. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find some on ChatGPT. But basically what happened was, that's what they said. And what they did was they switched the education model from education to job training. See if I can come it up. Let's see if I have it come up. Basically, that's what they did. They switched it over from education to job training. Let me see. Here we go. Thank you, ChatGPT. The JFK Library. Let's go here. Because a lot of the stuff I'm talking about was in books. The internet was around when I was in college. I feel old. The internet was around, but it wasn't like it is now. I got all this stuff from books. Here it is, Nixon Education Policy Task Force. They go into basically talking about here, you'll see here, they deliberately switched it to an emphasis on vocational training. On jobs, not educating. And then in 1978-79, Jimmy Carter started and created the Department of Education, which further, it took music out of schools. It took all kinds of training, things that can help you think and critically think. They started slowly under Reagan, taking money away, taking access to different programs away, and gutting the school system, starting through the 80s, through the 90s. And the nail in the coffin, if you ask me, was George Bush's No Child Left Behind policy. Those of y'all under the age of 34, 30, 35, y'all fucked. Y'all really fucked. You born anytime after 1990? Because Bush changed that in 2001. So that means you got a few years of good education. Not good. It was still stripped down. But if you was born 94, 95, I'm sorry. I don't want to call you a dumbass, but they purposely made you niggas not be able to critically think at all. If you go back to George Bush's No Child Left Behind policy, it just pushed kids on through without verifying. It made y'all got on Common Core math, never made no fucking sense. Had you motherfuckers on Scantrons instead of multiple choice testing instead of essay choice testing that gets your mind to go. They didn't teach you music. The music got flat. We went from grand arrangements in the music with key changes and chords to tick, tick, boom, tick, tick, boom. Now, if you talk to somebody in the 30 and you tell their asses and something that they don't agree with, what do they say? You're hating. But it ain't your fault. It ain't your fault. Bush's No Child Left Behind policy, the intention was to make you a dumbass. And if you didn't get no education outside of school, if you didn't have an uncle, a mama, a daddy, an auntie, people in your community to sharpen you up. See, some of y'all, those of y'all under 30 that got the game, y'all got that shit from your family. Y'all got that shit from your immediate, your cousins. Y'all got the game from people, not from school. School engineered you guys into being flat out dumbasses. Let's check these super chats. Yeah, the H1 restarted in India under Biden. That's right, Landmark 22. Yes, and yep. Ira, you said something earlier. Yeah, they hired people, IT professionals were way cheap. Yeah. Hell yeah. He said, unbeknownst to us, to white supremacists, old Joe opened the back door to white supremacists' knees getting capped. Yeah. They can't blame us. They cannot blame us. White people did it to themselves. The oligarchs always play the long game and have us focus on the near term. You damn right, Smokey Boat. This has been the plan all along. White people, black people, the reason why we're getting our neighborhoods gentrified because they've been pulling us from those jobs that pay that anyway. It's time for us to reset and learn how to use this technology to get our business up. We're not right there in it. Now we should raise our kids to learn this technology, point the youngsters in this direction, of course. But for the rest of us, lean into ChatGPT. Nigga, I use ChatGPT like a motherfucker when they come to putting shit together. We can use this stuff for our advantage, to take advantage and build ourselves an economy with the technology that's available to us. Let us master the technology. And if they don't want to teach it to us, we can get it taught. We can reverse engineer it. We got YouTube, and you also got a thing called ChatGPT that can teach your kids how to code. We can see what the technology is given to us now. We can reverse it and learn it on our own. We can use this to our advantage while these motherfuckers is fighting each other, because they will fight each other. They most definitely will fight each other. Okay? What's up, Brandy Kane? Y'all say what's up to Brandy and follow her. She was following that sorry bitch ass councilman Isaac Bryan around that thwarted reparations for black Americans. She was on that motherfucker's ass the other day on Christmas Eve, not allowing him to walk through the Crenshaw district peacefully. Salute to Brandy out there on the front line. So yeah, I appreciate that, Claire. So this is a time for us as black folks to sit back, let them fight it out, but use the technology that's there in front of us to educate ourselves. The same way we did out of slavery. They gave us used books, remember, and also out of Jim Crow. We didn't necessarily want integration. We just wanted a better access to education. We just were tired of getting the secondary books from white schools. We just wanted new books, but they found a way to use that to integrate us and still leave us left behind. But during that period when we were getting their old books, getting their hand-me-downs, when we were educating ourselves, we used it to create we used it to invent the light bulb, to invent the railroad crossing, the elevator, the gas mask, rubber, and a lot of the luxuries that America enjoys today, the doorknob, all of that stuff comes from black people getting a hand-me-down education. Granville T. Woods, 7 foot tall, invented the telegraph. When you look at the things that black Americans invented from 1850 to 1950, all came from a secondhand education, secondhand resources. But it came taught to us by people who love us and people who care for us, and we didn't leave it in their hands. We've already taken secondhand information before and engineered a new society. We're at that point again in history. We're at that point right now. We're at that point right now. We've been effectively cut out. Cool. But there's a whole online world that's willing to teach us if we're willing to sit down and learn. This isn't, like somebody in the chat room said earlier, this isn't a quick fix. This isn't going to be fixed in 5 years. But it can be fixed in 20. It can be fixed in 25 years. Through what we're, and the values and the access to information we're putting in front of our kids now, it can most definitely be fixed in 25 years, in 15 years, 10 years. We just got to take advantage of the opportunity in front of us and not get involved in their fight. Because these white folks are going to handle Vivek. And when they're done with Vivek, they coming for Elon Musk. And when them white folks come for them, let us grab our popcorn and watch. That's right, Unique O'Gara. We thrive best when we did not allow them into our affairs. Hell, even now when it comes to sports, we can take advantage of sports. You got the NIL money. If your kid is good in high school, I say shit, if your kid is good in high school basketball, let them keep playing, because now they got these NIL deals. You got kids getting 150, 200 grand a year to play basketball in high school. But value the education along with it. These college kids are now getting paid $500,000 a year. And it's going to be even way more in the next 10 years. So the money's there. Now these kids can get paid in college. If you add the value of a true education, not indoctrination, not sending your kids there, well, send them there, but supplementing that with knowledge of self and education at home, they can then flip that and the money that they're getting from sports into a lifetime of greatness. So let us sit back and laugh and watch these white folks fight it out. Vivek and Elon Musk just sent a shot to white people, Latinos, all of you motherfuckers. I see some trolls in the chat, but Vivek was talking about you. Your schools got the knowledge. You're just not good enough. Black people were never in the race because we never got the education to begin with. We don't get accepted into Harvard like that at a 46% clip like you white people do. We don't get accepted into MIT like that. He talking about y'all. So you can troll me all you want in the chat room, you dumb bitch. He talking about you. Now what you gonna do about it? Keep complaining to the black man or pull yourselves up by your bootstraps? All of you white trolls in the chat room talking. Are you gonna pull yourself up by the bootstraps and fix it? Or are you gonna argue with me? I ain't your problem. MAGA put this in office. You dig? I am not your problem. MAGA put this in office. You dig? Now, in about 45 minutes, Dr. Short and I are going to really go in. But you got to be subscribed to the Patreon. Because what we about to talk about on Patreon, I ain't about to let YouTube take my fucking channel. All right? So if you're part of Patreon, you're about to get this. And then when for those of you who are members on this YouTube channel, the member link won't let me go to Patreon and member at the same time. So if you're a member, it's going to be recorded and put on the membership level of this channel. So if you're just a member, not on Patreon, you will get the video too. But it'll be once we're done recording. If you're on Patreon, you can come in and listen live. All right? Thank y'all for listening. Somebody is saying BTS Africa sold me. Yeah. Whatever. What you gonna do about these Indians taking your shit? You still worried about me. What you gonna do about these Indians though? You stupid fuck. Say all you want about black people. What you gonna do about them? All right. Thank y'all again for listening. And remember, there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those willing to pick up the game. Thank y'all again for listening. We'll be on Patreon in about 45 minutes. I'm out.